Hi guys, just wanted to uh, give you some information that I couldn't give because of some problems with the Hangouts, because my sound was heard by Lori and I couldn't hear what she was saying, so I tried to make my own video for you to understand what I was trying to say. So you were discussing the huge guys, the guys with giant height. So we had this Russian newspaper, and it says that scientists in the United States, but it says it's America, told that they were interested in some science opening. I don't know how to say that, but discover. So Frankfurt Press says that there are some random side of the human feet. How do you say that? Footprints, which were discovered by some guys in the state of Nevada, not far away from the Great Salt Lake, in the western part of the United States. Those footprints were found approximately in the number of 100. So there were about 100 footprints, and they possibly present 6 different guys, 6 different persons. So they probably matched them to one another, so I guess they figured that out somehow. And right by those footprints, we got some another prints, which are the elephant prints, feet prints, footprints, or whatever. So they try to explain those prints mixing with one another, because they think that humans met some elephants and they raised them like in farms, something like that. So maybe that's a good idea for them. So geologists relate those footprints to some ancient era, which is called Platinum, something like that. So the size of the prints is 45 to 53 centimeters. It's about 2 feet in length. So so they say that a regular human footprint is about 1 foot, obviously. So they assume that those footprints depend, but so let's go to buildings. As we can see, the buildings are made with such huge doors, and it's all over the planet. How we can figure that out? We can match the human height to this height of those doors, and you can see it's obviously not for humans, because the humans use only maybe a quarter of this door. As you can see, there's another door, It's this one is from Pisa, Italy. This one is from Rome, Piazza del Rotonda. You can see that. This is Cusco, Peru. Maybe it was special technology type of building and construction, but I don't think there's any reason to do a greater job for no sense. This is kind of a masterpiece, as you can see, and this is the door for humans, and this is the gates or the doors for some giant people. Like this arc is. This is for the humans, and this smaller guys, and this is for the huge guys. You can see this girl is about 1/6 of the size of the door, so you can imagine how tall those. This is Russia, is Moscow, and this cathedral was rebuilt in 21st century. It was destroyed by the Red Army in beginning of the 20th century, and it was a swimming pool, open swimming pool for people of the Soviet Union, and right now it's rebuilt. It has a huge, enormous sizes, but the doors are still the same. They didn't rebuild the doors, and they did it as they were on those ancient church, which was destroyed by Soviet soldiers. This is a Cologne, or whatever you say in Germany. You can see this. It's huge doors. This is St. Stephan Basilica in Hungary. This is some Saint Anastasia Church. This is the Santa Maria Church in Del Pino, Spain, Barcelona. And this is the entrance to the Jerusalem Church of God's Coffin, or whatever you say. This is the painting, ancient painting, the Banquet of Cleopatra, and it was painted in 1714 by Giovanni Battista Tiepolo, and we can see the giant people. These are regular people. You can see the giant people. You can see the small guys, like we have today, the small guys in circuses and stuff like that. And this is the regular, maybe 6 feet tall man, and this guy is probably 10 feet tall, or maybe 11 or 12 feet tall. It ain't even 7 feet tall, like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal be like this for him. So, Banquet of Cleopatra. What can I say? Another it's another one from Pompeii. It's an Italian town which was buried underneath the volcano dust. The story of fallen Pompeii's, or whatever you call them. So there's paintings on those buildings that were dug out, and we can see that the small guy here and a tall guy here. Who is who? And maybe this one is a trader, but he's pretty much taller than both of those guys. And he's selling bread for them, like the painting says. It's a bread selling store, bread store. We can see the small guy. We can see giants here. We can see the giants and regulars see this girl or woman. She's a lot taller than a buffalo and a guy. So maybe two types of guys we have here. So what do we have here? We have a women on this painting. It's my kitties. We see the regular women and the tall women, giant women. What is this? This is some kind of port, and we see tall guys and small guys. So this one looks like a human-sized guy, because you can see the dogs, right? So the dog size matches the human size, regular human size right now. The modern human size. You see those bas-reliefs or sculptures or whatever you call them on those. Where is? In Greece. It's in Greece, and it's called the ancient Greece artifacts, or something like that. And we can see this small guy and the tall guys, and a small guy and a huge woman. See this skulls of the giants. 2 or 3 people like banding or something. What are they doing? I can't tell you. But if we match the skull of this person to the skull of the giant, we can see it's 2 or 3 times larger than the human-sized skull. Here is probably the bone of a giant. It's a huge bone. Why do you say this is huge? Because I don't know. Maybe it's not huge, but we can see the chair, which is a lot more matches the big butt of a giant than a human size. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and this is a newspaper from 1895. Oh, it says that they found a lot of bones, and the height of those guys, those dead guys, was about 7 feet. 7 feet, right? More than 7 feet, and it's they calculated it and just summed it up and divided by the number of those persons they found, dead bodies, and it was 7 feet. So some of them were maybe 6 feet tall, and some were 8 feet tall and 9 feet tall. But they calculated it. Even was assumed that they are a lot taller than the guys that they found those bodies. And the guy from the expedition, it was some French General Davout. He wrote that information to the Napoleon, and it was found in 5 letters, different letters. So he wrote those facts in 5 different letters. Wow. And it was found in Guatemala. I don't know how do you say it in English, but it's and we have a comment here that this rifle probably is not a human rifle, and this sword probably not a human sword. And this is the Kremlin doors. Is a press secretary of Putin, opening those Kremlin doors, and you can see this huge locks, which is not proper for human hand. So giants here, giants here, giants with the height of a giraffes, giants, and that's probably it. That's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing that I wanted to say is we have those ancient artifacts in like Bolivia, and it was found and pictured in 1905. Look how it was found. Look at this place right now. It's a whole different story. This is the Essusan obelisk, or stone, or monument, whatever you call it. Look like it was found and pictured between 1900 and 1920s. This is the beginning of 1920s, and this is right now. So it's a whole different story. We see a whole bunch of mess here, dust, sand, stones, and it's all buried. This is a little bit dug. They digged it out. They dug it out, or I don't know how to say it. It's a whole bunch of different guys here, and they done a good job digging it out, as we can see. It's a huge monument, a stone. This is the Bolivia, and is 1892, and the picture of some temple or something like that. This is a temple of Kalasasaya or whatever. So this is how it looks right now, and we can see it's being rebuilt. Nobody's telling us. They just lying us. Well, look at this Odeon of Herodotus, Atticus, Greece. It's 1868 to 1875 picture, and look at it right now. It's a whole different story, but we can see a whole bunch of mess here. It's a dirt. There's no, look how many dirt was just laying around all this place. It was just flooded with dirt, a whole bunch of different stones and fractions of sand and dirt, and some rocks and little, no trees, no bushes, nothing. Those facts are from Bolivia. This is the beginning of the 20th century. Just we see nothing of those sun gates, like they call today sun gates. It's Tiwanaku, Bolivia. The sun gates were rebuilt, and look how they look now. Just check it out. This is Egyptus. How it was found. Whole bunch of ruins here. Look at it now. So they rebuilt the artifacts for us. Why do they do that? Why don't they leave them at this state, ruined state, you know? Because they don't want us to know about the destruction of those artifacts. Who destroyed them? We'll talk about it later. So we have those Palmyra in Syria, we have this Egyptus, this is a Palmyra or Palmyra, this is a Luxor in Egypt, this is Mexico, which is pretty close to United States. You can visit this place. Look how it was found. And this is 1890s. This is the second half of the 19th century. So something happened in this 19th century, as I assume. And we'll go to this subject a little bit later. This is Mexico, Palenque, the palace of some Mexicans, and was found in 1890s and pictured. So this is the Mexican pyramids, and we can see it was buried in the ground and wasn't covered with dust and little bushes or some stones, something like that. This is Mexico again. Look how castle of Cathedral of Nish El Tajín, Mexico. And look at it now in 2013. This is a Palmyra Syria. It was found and pictured in beginning of 20th century. Look at it in 2009 in 21st century. Look at it in 2015. Well, what happened in 2015? The ISIS came and just blew the hell of this building. This is Pakistan, this is Egypt. You quite see it. No heads on, nothing. Oh, this is Baalbek. This is Baalbek, the large court, great court. We can see it was pretty messed up when it was found, and now it's fixed and renewed as good as they could. And this is Baalbek too. This is Baalbek, View General de la Grande Cour. This is a view general on the Grand Court. Look how it was found in 1870 and pictured, not found but pictured in 1870s. Look at it now. It's two different places. This is Baalbek 2, this is Baalbek 2, this is Baalbek 2. So a whole bunch of Baalbek construction details were renewed, like those columns, those stones up there. Why did they put them up? Nobody knows. Where the cranes which lifted those stones, we don't know. But as we know about the Stonehenge lie like they built the Stonehenge with those machines in the beginning of 20th century. We had those pictures. I guess you saw them too. If not, you can just Google Stonehenge pictures and find some pictures with the machines and the renovation of those sites. So my idea is why it all was found and pictured and it was all messed up. Because of these facts that I've prepared for you for today. We have those houses in Russia after the flood or some natural disasters. You can see a lot of sand here, and a guy is digging his way into the house, or whatever he's doing. Maybe he's digging out this house. This is Omsk, Russia. This is before the renovation. How this building, and the building is in the downtown Omsk. We will go to that building a little bit later, and this is downtown Omsk. We can see the windows underneath the ground. This is I guess it's Rome or something like that. We can see a whole bunch of digging out in the city. How come this is going on? This is a Colosseum. A whole bunch of digging, whole bunch of job, mass, cleaning, renovation. This is digging out the first floor. This is not basement. You see this whole huge windows. Nobody's making windows in the basement. Windows this tall. This is a buried house into the ground. Look at the how deep is this house is about 15 or maybe 20 feet deep, or maybe even more. I can say that. This is Rome. You can see this whole bunch of mess on the ground floor, and it was all dug out. Maybe I'm not quite correct, but in word digging out, but you can figure that out, I guess. I didn't have a lot of practice talking English for quite a while, but I guess I'll catch on that later. So you see these ground floor completely buried in the ground. It's this Rome, and it's about 30 feet deep underground. No, this is Omsk. As the building we saw one of the first pictures. You see, they made they took the asphalt and the level of the like it was like this. You see this? This was the level, and right now we can see the doors under the ground. Doors and the full-size windows. Nobody making the doors into the ground where you go, or whatever it is. Maybe it's not a door, but we can see it's a window. Maybe it's a lot deeper than we think. This window was fixed with the bricks. So these are hooks. So they used some hooks in the past. Nobody makes hooks uh, on the walls which are buried in the ground. This is just stupid. What is this? It's a picture of a Russian square, or you can see a whole bunch of guys riding horses, and it's a pretty leveled up. If you know leveled the flat or the table size mountains or whatever, it's completely flat, and you can see that this square or whatever you call this area, the road, the highway, is completely flat and has no bumps, no nothing that says of any defect ground. So it's a completely straight and flat, and this is the beginning of the 20th century. Those guys are riding horses. Now look at those guys, they're digging something out. How deep is that thing? You can see that. This is the modern Moscow, and we can see the buried building in the ground of the Moscow apartment house yard, or whatever you call it, court or yard, or maybe just near the house territory. Look, someone's picturing it from his window, maybe house like that or something like that. We could see these excavation job that is done, and this is how deep this building is. And maybe it's a lot more deeper, we don't know. There's a windows. This is the Baghdad or something like that. We see this ancient site which was found by some guys, and they are archaeologists or something like that, and they are digging this construction out of the ground. Look how it's looking now. Oh, maybe it's Syria, I don't know. Maybe it's not this one. No, it's this one. See this guy? And see this guy. See this horse? Or whatever it is. See this guy. It's like centaurs or something like that. It's a horse person. Well, we see this Russian building. That's beginning of the 20th century, I think. And we can see a lot of mess right by this building. And the first floor is right now a ground floor. Obviously, this is a modern picture, and see this first floor also in the ground. Another one. This is a picture of the Moscow. We see these completely flat technological lines. Tramway or something like that, and see these cars, and completely flat roads with no bumps. This is ground floor in the ground. First floor is ground floor. This one. This one. This one. This one. This one. This one. Kind of messy, right? If we saw just a whole bunch of completely flat and perfect roads, how come this one is not perfect? It's a mess with dirt, something like that. And maybe That's a post effect of those floods or whatever buried those houses. They took the ground, just scrapped it off this boulevard or whatever avenue, and look at it. It's not renovated yet, but it's still flat and perfect, but it's kind of messy. That's the dugout or digging out avenue near the Kremlin, and it was pictured in the beginning of the 20th century. That's the same type. It's just downtown Moscow, just a couple of 100 yards from the Kremlin. Look at this. It looks like it was just maybe a couple of years ago. It was a whole bunch of ground and soil on this place, and they scrapped it off, and this is how it looks right now. That's what I'm talking about. They pushed this ground by the side, and so we see this trash soil which has been pushed from those buildings, away from those buildings. That's where they could do it, because if it was too deep, they couldn't dig. They cannot dig it out if it was too deep, as we can see on those other pictures. And this where they could have done that, and they done it. Whole bunch of people were poor, and we can see this dinner that was made by Russian Tsar Nikolai II to the honor of his coronation or becoming a king. You see this building, and is first floor is again a ground floor, like we see it today. But they already had electricity. A whole bunch of lamps here. We can see this is electricity or some lightning bulbs, something like that. This is maybe one of the artifacts. We have those electricities here, but we have, maybe this is not a good example, but it looks like it was cleaned not that far ago, not that long ago. This one is cleared, and that's the example of how good they could clear some streets, and they did it. This is a cleared street, but we see some example of electricity. Maybe they are preparing to do that, but this is not quite what I was thinking, but we'll talk about it later. So they had some technologies we cannot say right now. Did they have it or did they not? This is the house in the ground. This is the those archaeological artifacts that I've shown already. This is the Kazan. Kazan is the city in Terestran in Russia. Russia is a very huge country, and we have this renovation picture. How deep is this building? This is the street level, as you can see, and this building is buried in the ground. This is the view underneath the renovated avenue. They made some kind of bridge, so they won't have to fill this and level this with the streets close to this place. So they built some some kind of construction which is leveling the street level with the actual level of the closest streets. This is the Paris and Paris, France, and we can see how deep was the digging job. It's about 3 to 10 feet. They dug it out. This is some bridge buried in the soil. The soil, the grass, and some structures, you know. This is another building. Some ancient pictures of the process of cleaning and digging. When you renovate the streets, you dig and you find this. This is the consequences of the Dust Bowl in the United States. It looks pretty much the same. This is some guy found something digging hole close to his house. This is Moscow. As you can see, underneath the ground there's a whole bunch of different stories. This is a wooden pavement underneath the ground. It's about 5 feet, maybe 3 to 5 feet deep, and you can find it, wooden pavement underneath the ground. And some toys found in this. There's some walls. Maybe it's Liverpool, England. Look, they found something. That's England. They cleaned this up and it looks like this, sound like this. We have those in Omsk, in Russia, in all different cities. This kind of job of making the brick ceiling. The dishes found in this soil in the Liverpool, those basements as they were before they dug. So maybe digged. I don't know. Look at those guys. How deep is this basement? It's not a basement. It's a whole different story. Look at this picture. And we can see it's so messed up. And people walking on it. It's another one. Palazzo Fabbricato Sacra Cultura. Someone from I don't know where it's from, but it's actual. You can see the first floor is buried in the ground. This one is from Italy, I guess. Caio Sifi, Sepoltoro di Caio Tefio. Oh, I don't know what it is, but as you can see, this is Greece, the Parthenon site as it was found, and look how deep is the rest of this complex site. So something did happen. It was buried. Look at those guys. They digging something. It's about 20 feet, maybe 30 feet deep. They found those sculptures, original sculptures of Romans. So it's pretty obvious that the whole planet, as we can see, was flooded with something or buried in the ground for some reasons. Look at this. And we have a whole bunch of evidence right now. What else do we have for you? And there's megaliths from Russia. You can see those bricks, huge bricks, found in the mountains of Russian Sayans. Look at those blocks. It's hugest blocks I've ever seen in my life. And those blocks are just laying around. You know, no one does anything to tell us what the hell is this. It's a whole bunch of stories. You know, Russia is a huge country, and we have a lot of the sites here, and those are human-made blocks. The balls in the Arctic islands. This Arctic is a place where they assume the Hyperborea was in some mountain Meru or something like that. And you can see it's perfect parallel lines between the blocks. Just ruins. You can see this is a human made. These are the blocks. Completely flat, you know, side blocks. Not all the mountains are the trees. Some of them are buildings. As you can see, this is a huge human-made bath in Russia. I don't know the size of it, but it's about maybe 100 feet in length and 30 feet in deep. That's another blocks example, and you can see it was a kind of melted block. You know, some kind of heat wave or heat effect was made on those blocks, and they melted the sharp angles of those blocks, but some are still the same. You can see that they are huge. They are not explained. This comparison of the Baalbek block, the famous Baalbek block, and the Russian blocks, about the same. This is a famous cave that was found in Russia, and it's a technological tunnel, as they think. It's a technical window, as they call it. Maybe it was used for cables or something like that. Maybe it's air ventilation or something like that. So they oh, so they went down in this hole, and it was completely straight and parallel as they went, deceived or whatever. So as you can see, sharp, parallel, right angles, and this is what the this plan of this place. So this is the bottle, as the bottle top, as they call it, and it's 25 meters in. It's 25 meters deep, so it's about 75 or 80 feet deep. This one is 17 meters and it's 60 feet deep. This one is 36 meters, as you can see, and it has another route, but no one ever dug so far. What is this place? No one knows. 36 meters is 120 feet, maybe something like that. 110 feet. Oh, and this is a completely enormous size of the wall found in the forest of taiga in Siberia, and you can see this wall expands for a couple of kilometers. I had a movie of this war, but I had a video of this guys who pictured this place. It's enormous. It's all about the megaliths. So you can ask me questions and I'll be right back and answering you, maybe next time live, or maybe I'll make another video for you guys. So I do understand that the fact of the flood was, but it was in the 19th century, maybe somewhere between 1850 and 1865, something like that. Why do I think that that happened in this period? I don't know, but I've read a bunch of books where I can see the population decreased in those ages, in that period. We have depopulation process in the middle of 19th century all over the world. So probably if the flood was, and we had it in this 19th century, so that's not very far from our time. What else? I have a bunch of information, so you might as well ask me questions, and I'll be right back and answering these questions. So thanks a lot. Bye.